How important is the first line of a book?
We can help with that. Hello, welcome to the Writing Momentum Podcast. I'm Christopher Maselli, here with my wife, Gena.
Hi there.
And who else is with us, Gena?
The fabulous Rene Gutteridge.
Hey,
She's
Rene
here.
Gutteridge. Wow. Because Renee's here, I know we're going to be talking about something really meaty and in depth.
I know. She always brings a great depth and wisdom.
Yes.
And she'll probably laugh when I say that because she'll be like, no, but she does. She brings a lot of wisdom and depth and experience whenever we talk about the craft of writing and just the whole world of writing.
That's right. We're talking about something crafty today, aren't we?
We are. We're talking about, well, we were posed the question of how important is the first sentence of a book? What jobs should it do? And I think the bottom line is how important is it and how much time should I spend on it?
Well, yeah, the question was actually, how many words should I have in it? What exactly should it say? What all should I introduce? So there you go, Renee. Go ahead and answer.
Light question. Well, first of all, guys, I have to tell you something that I found on Etsy that totally
Uh-oh.
has to do with this. There's a company on Etsy that will take your book cover and mount it on canvas, and it's just beautiful how they do it with the design, and they put the first line of your book at the bottom with your signature.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Well, that
That's
means
pressure.
that
That
also
is
means you've got to
pressure.
have a good first liner. It's going to look really funny, right?
Exactly. So, going into the question here, think about the cover of your book and the title and then the first line. Is it worthy to be mounted on just, canvas? I've never framed any of my book covers, and it got to the point I had so many it felt overwhelming. But I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to start and just buy a few. But it does kind of make you think if it's going to be mounted, should it?
There's something
Importance.
there's something official about putting it on the wall, right?
It is, and it might be a good exercise in your mind as you're thinking of that first line. What would it look like, under my cover with my signature under it? And is it worthy? It does function in a lot of different ways and capacities. It's not always functioning in the same capacity in every book. So, for instance, if you're writing a comedy, you want to definitely set the tone for that. And whether it is through saying a funny piece of dialogue, a funny piece of inner monologue, or even a strange pop of words that or a really clever simile, whatever it is, it needs to set the tone. Especially true in comedy. And for everything else, it works. I always say it needs to kill two birds with one stone. You make it a workhorse. You make it do everything it needs to do for you, and you don't finish it till it's done what it needs to do. I wouldn't exactly stress over it when you start the book. Put it down, keep going. It's probably going to change in your rewrites. It's probably going to change as you go, but give it your best effort.
If there's anything that's going to change, it's probably that first sentence, right?
yes.
Because as you write the book, you're going to have more clarity as you go, exactly that tone you want to set. But it does seem like if you're going to be mounting it, it'd have to be pretty short.
Well, I have to come up with this disclaimer or this kind of funny anecdote as we were talking about this, as this question was posed to us. Chris answered the question, then I answered the question. And Chris's response was to go to Amazon and look up the most popular books currently, or well-known authors
like James
currently.
Patterson or Michael Crichton. So look up something. I figured they would have a compelling first line, right?
And he looked up the compelling first lines. My first instinct was to go and do a search for famous first of books, which brought me up literary fiction, which was Charles Dickens,
One of the best is supposed to be The Tale of Two Cities. So why
Tale
don't
of
you
Two
read that to
Cities.
everyone, Gina? And Renee, you tell us if this is a great first line that we should emulate.
Okay. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epic of belief. It was the epic of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven. We were all going direct the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received, for good or for evil, in the superlative degree of comparison only.
So, having read that, Renee, would you go on to sentence 2?
I would. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
It's
Because
brilliant, isn't it?
it's so unusual, right? Like it's,
Mhm.
you already know what you want to do with the first line is this is your handshake with the reader. You're introducing yourself. And what a reader wants to know is, are you in control of this story?
Hmm.
Right? Like it's the kind of like, how strong is your handshake? Is it a floppy fish handshake? Have you ever reached out for a handshake and you thought, did I just break their bones? I'm a woman and I've got from another woman I could maybe, but when you just reach out and my handshake is stronger than, and it's like it's a little bit like, okay, I guess I'm gonna be in charge of this situation. If they match, you're like, okay, great. Like I feel like we're already connected. Our handshakes are where we need to be. Not everybody's a handshake, and I'm kind of going into some silliness, but it is kind of a thing for me. But anyway, this is your initial handshake with the reader, and they're going to feel safe when they read something like that and go, all right, they know where they're going, they know they're saying, and they've invited me on this trip, but they're obviously in control. I'm not
Mm.
gonna have to do any driving. This, and that's what a reader wants. Like, when I work with clients, I say, look, a reader does not want to work hard. When I get into my bed at the end of the day and I open that book, I do not want to be filling in blanks and trying to figure things out and all of that. I want to be carried. I want to be pampered. I want to be babied. And when you get that first line and you go, okay, haven't read that before, but this is interesting. So, if you can think of it like a handshake with the reader, it will compel you to at least go in strong. And if you're Michael Crichton and James Patterson, you don't even have to work anymore.
Right. People are going to read regardless, right?
It's already happened. You're walking into the room and everybody knows you're there. So, but yeah, I think, we should all try hard on all of our books.
I wanted to follow up because that one was super long, and I mean, there's so much we could dissect. We could spend an entire podcast just talking about that one opening line and the different techniques that he uses in it, and just the tone of it, the mood that it gives us, just all of that. But I do want to bring up another famous opening line, which is from Moby Dick, which is only 3 words. Call me Ishmael. That was the opening line of that one. It's a famous, famous one. So it's on the other side, but of course, it's using the illusion of Ishmael to make us realize that this is going to be heavy hitting and deeper, and there's layers to it, even with those 3 words. So I think there's something with the opening line. Like you said, you've got to convince the reader that you know where you're going and that they can trust you. There is also an element of, I think there's an emotion that comes into it too, where there's a little bit of either it evokes a sense of curiosity, or it evokes a sense of humor, or it evokes a sense of just question or even irony in that. There's something about it that evokes something in the reader that keeps us go it makes us say, "Oh, this writer knows what they're doing. This is gonna be a great ride."
Don't you think it also depends on the genre that you're writing, right? So if
Right.
you're one thing I would encourage you to do if you're thinking about your opening line to your work is to go on Amazon and look up other books in your genre that are similar to what you're writing, and look at some of the bestsellers or some of those that you know have been tried and true over time, and read those first sentences and kind of see what other authors are doing. And that can be a good just kind of guide as to know, okay, I'm on the right track here with this. Because I would think that an opening to a thriller like a Michael Crichton book would be quite different than like what we just read from some of these classic literary works.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want one rule to follow, it's be interesting. You can't
Yeah.
you can't stuff everything into, one sentence. So, but you want to be interesting. I mean, readers aren't gonna read the first line and tuck it away. But I'll tell you, editors, when they open your manuscript and hear, she woke up and the sunlight drifted through her room and da 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 da, da, or she sipped her coffee. It's like, oh boy, they're already just like, "Okay, I'm gonna have to work myself to be entertained."
Right.
And, if you can do the entertaining for them, then again, Call Me Ishmael is what a strong handshake. The character is, introducing themselves, and letting you as the reader know, "This story is my story." That I'm taking you along with, right? Like, it it's already grabbed your attention because of how he introduced it. He's setting the tone for what's going to happen. Um, and you can also, I used to go, literally do this back long ago when I had more time, but when I was writing, I would go to Barnes and Noble and like Chris said, open books and read the first. Usually read the first, few sentences, and you're walking along going, "How that's brilliant! How that's really good! I could do better than that."
Right.
It kind of ramps you up to go like, I think I can. I'm feeling it. I'm getting ideas. I'm going with it. But if it's interesting, and then the next sentence is interesting, and the next sentence is interesting, then they're already hooked. And, as we work on our books, that's one thing that I really push my writers who come, to my workshops or through my coaching is like, you don't get to lay off after the first sentence. You don't get to come out of the gate, do that handshake and then sit and have coffee with them and be the most boring coffee guest ever. Um, you have to be compelling for 90,000 words. All of it. You have to be compelling for. And if you do that, you're always gonna have a winner of a book.
Because it's like that opening line is really just leading you to the next line, which is leading you to the
Yeah.
next line, which is leading you to the next paragraph, right? It's kind of like when you end every chapter, you want to have something that propels them to read the next chapter. And everything just leads one to another so that it becomes this constant motion with the reader, and they're compelled to read hopefully to the end of the book.
Mm. And I would point out that while we're talking a lot about fiction here, I it's still true with nonfiction. You still want strong lines, strong sentences, strong structure in nonfiction as well. It's not like, oh, I hear this sometimes from writers where they will say, well, my message is so good that somehow that seems to be an excuse for not having the strongest opening line or the strongest first paragraph or strongest first chapter. And whether it's fiction or nonfiction, it has to be compelling. And I would say even with
Mm.
nonfiction, it has to be compelling. And I would say there's a lot of nonfiction books that might have great lessons. And I'm talking mainly about the
Like
more
teaching
self-help
books. Yeah.
teaching books, spirituality, Christian living, those kind of books. That there's a lot of times where people will say, well, my message is so good that somehow the delivery doesn't matter. And, or that that's an excuse for why the delivery doesn't need to be top notch. And I would say it's actually just the opposite, because people are going to go into those books already thinking that they know what you're going to tell them, or that they already know the lessons you're trying to teach them. And so you have to be, you have to be a strong communicator in nonfiction as well as in fiction.
Yeah.
In
Convince them right away why they should read the book.
It's the strong handshake, but this
Mhm.
is the difference between, somebody catching you at the supermarket and telling you, "Oh, let me tell you what I learned," and you're just thinking about buying everything on your list versus going to a conference with, like, a well-known speaker who's saying, "I'm gonna change your life." That when people come into your book, it you don't want them to feel like you're just somebody that they met at the supermarket that they could have gotten that, information standing in the checkout line, reading the headlines. You want them to feel like, "No, this is really important, and this is really special, and this is really something you need." So, I just wanna make that clear that um, this is not just for fiction. This is also for nonfiction.
100%. 100%. Hey, if you've liked this teaching, we did too.
Yeah, this is a good
This
one.
is good. So tell you what, this is something Renee and Gina and I talk about this kind of stuff on a regular basis in our Writing Momentum membership. And if you're not a part of a writers group, or you're like, man, I need some of my people to get together with and talk about these kind of things with on a regular basis, that's why we have the Writing Momentum membership. And you can go to writingmomentum.com and find out all about it. It's not expensive. It's only $25 a month. And every single week, we get together, sometimes multiple times per week, and we talk about things like this and just really work together on our manuscripts and make them stronger. And it
Yeah.
makes such a difference to be able to have this kind of thing on your mind all the time.
Absolutely. Because, Chris, together
Together, we have Writing Momentum.
That's
Thanks for
right.
joining us, Renee. So good to see you again. And we're going to get together again soon, where we're going to talk about more of this writing stuff.
More of this writing stuff.
Bye bye.